The movie I want to talk about today is a movie that I loved personally, and I thought that everyone like collectively loved. It's only like recently upon listening to some movie podcast that I learned that people really don't like this movie, and it really blows my mind. The movie is from 1987, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci, called The Last Emperor. This is a movie that stars this actor called John Alone, who you probably know as the character Ricky Tan in Rush Hour 2, the villain from Rush Hour 2. The movie also stars eight-time Oscar nominated but has never won Peter O'Toole. Peter O'Toole has never won an Oscar ever. He has 8 nominations, twice for playing the same role twice. Never won. I don't think he was nominated for this movie because, fun fact, The Last Emperor is probably the only movie I can think of that won in every category that it was nominated for that one night. Even Lord of the Rings, winning 11 Oscars, including Best Picture, did not win the Oscar for Best Cinematography. They gave that Oscar to this one guy who did this movie called Master and Command. Whatever! Okay? Whatever! But this is a movie that I watched the first time I watched it was back in 2015. It was like 3 a.m. and I couldn't sleep. I was still very self-destructive. So what I would do, I would start, I'm giving so much of myself, but whatever. I would start my day at 7 a.m. The tavern next door, the house that I lived in, would open at 7 and I would be there and I'd be drinking because I was depressed. But one of the things that I did in this one morning, I saw that The Last Emperor was playing. I was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing this movie as a kid, but I didn't know what was going on. Let me just watch it again. And it started from like 4 a.m. and it was done by 7:30. This movie is 3.5 hours long. So what this movie is about, it's about showing ancient China, right? There's a section of China. I don't know if it's real or not, but I guess for the sake of the movie, I'm going to assume that it is real. There's a section of China called the Forbidden City. And the Forbidden City is basically sort of like a place where the ancient aesthetic of what China is, the China that you see in all those movies like Once Upon a Time in China, in all those movies like Hero, movies like House of the Flying Daggers, you know that aesthetic of like what you think like China is, but it's probably just like a village, and then the rest of China is just normal CBD looking ass city, looking ass country. That's essentially what this movie's about. So this kid who I'm trying to remember if he's like blood related to, or is an heir to the throne. Basically, this kid is ordained as the emperor of China. But the thing is, because the Forbidden City is hidden away from the rest of the world as the world develops, this kid is secluded and kept within these walls, within these confines. And he lives as the emperor. And he has all these people who are serving him, all these people who basically, like it's sort of like, like the whole thing of like his royalty, you shouldn't look at him, his royalty, you shouldn't address him directly. He has so many servants, all these people who are there to just serve him and just keep this basically, this aesthetic and this facade of what his life is. It's essentially the closest double feature I can think of is the Truman Show. In the sense that like Truman is stuck in this little world that is so away from the rest of the world, right? But Truman, to him, he believes that this is his reality, this is how he always lived. That's essentially what happens in this movie. We watch this kid, Chinese emperor, live in this forbidden city. And then after a while, Peter O'Toole comes because the kid still needs to get an education. So Peter O'Toole is there to play the character of his tutor who teaches him English, mathematics. Basically, if it were to happen that he would leave the forbidden city, which is something that he wants to do, he wouldn't be in a fish out of water type of situation. That's essentially what Peter O'Toole's character is. And then stuff happens, and then there's like a big war. I don't know if it's like World War II or if it was around the time when Japan was invading China or occupying China. But then at some point they're like, okay, our lives are in danger. We need to leave this forbidden city. And then you basically have to watch this man live his life in the real world, not only the real world, live his life in an era where people don't even know who he is because he was the emperor, but only the emperor in this forbidden city. So you basically have to watch him adjust to the ever-changing world. And he seems to be doing well because the movie really is about the entirety of this man's life, like his entire life. Not just that he was in the forbidden city, went out and then like shit happens and then there's an ending, tied in about, like the entire life of this person is shown. And I personally really love this movie, but I've heard people complain and say that, oh wow, this movie beat The Untouchables to Best Picture. Oh wow, this movie beat Broadcast News to Best Picture. How the fuck does this movie beat Broadcast News to Best Picture? And it's like, okay, your cases are valid, but I still think it's a good movie. I still think it's a watchable movie. But like, I feel like watch it when you have all the time in the world. Have the time to watch it. And I think it's a very rewarding movie. The movie is beautiful. The cinematography is out of this world. It's by this guy called Vittorio Storaro, who also did the cinematography for Apocalypse Now. He won the Oscar for that, and he won the Oscar for this. This movie is amazing. And I don't know why Bernardo Bertolucci didn't really do that many movies. I mean, he was sort of like a writing partner to Sergio Leone, this other movie that I've spoken about on my other platform called Once Upon a Time in the West. He was involved in the writing of that movie, and this was him directing the movie. And I'd like to think that Sergio Leone was also like a direct influence, because Sergio Leone has also done this movie called Once Upon a Time in America, which is also a lifetime long, and I'll watch it whenever I watch it. But yeah, when you have the time, give it a watch. The Last Emperor from 1987. It's a really good movie, personally for me. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you keep on watching movies, because again, we need the movies and the movies need you.